Count up those commits and also count up the quality. Talking Canes here for the next hour. Cam's here, so you know what that means. The best in storytelling, information, insight, all of it put together. Talking Miami football with all of you. Leave those comments and questions there in the chat, and we will get after it. Cam, how you doing tonight?
Man, I feel good, feel strong. Glad to be here. Want to hang out with you guys and talk some Canes football. And there's plenty to talk about because, I mean, it's a day that ends in Y, but yeah.
So let's get to the commits that came in over the past week, and we'll start with the top of the board. So this was on July 13th. So not long after our last show, Joshisa Trader, athlete, meaning wide receiver, 6'1", 175 out of Chaminade. Big commit.
Yeah. JoJo Trader, the other 5-star receiver at Chaminade that we've talked about. And it's ironic because remember last week it was saying, because people were getting ornery in the comments that, it's basically because the recruiting staffers are like, oh, we're chasing these whales and something's going to happen. And I said, like, shut up and work and let us see it because, the continued hinting and no action is what, breeds discontent. And they said, we hear you. We see you. Here's a 5-star wide receiver, the likes of which we've not had in a long time commit to the University of Miami in Joshisa Trader. So, yeah, JoJo, he's electric. He's, 6'1", 185 pounds. He can do it all. He plays opposite of what's his face? Oh, my God. Why can't I remember this kid's name now? Lord Jesus. What is wrong with my brain? Who's the other kid at Chaminade? Visits. My mind literally just went blank. Jeremiah Smith, Geno Smith's cousin. Duh.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, so he plays, Trader plays opposite of Jeremiah Smith, and some would say that he's the better player. If you look at the high school level, you see defenses routinely tilting their coverage Trader's way and not Smith's way because you kind of have to choose. If you look at the composite, yeah, he's top 25 in the country, number 3 athlete. But, I mean, because Chaminade's a small school, and he does play both ways. Most of those skill players play both ways. He's playing receiver. Like, let's just get that together. Had the same conversation with people around Amon Richards years ago about, if we were to put his physical gifts on the defensive side of the ball. What are we talking about here? You get a kid of this caliber, you put him on offense because we need dudes on offense. And he's a top 5 player in the state of Florida, probably higher than that when you remove a couple dudes from IMG who are not Florida natives, but they count them as in Florida because that's where they attend school. But like a David Stone is from Oklahoma, he'll probably be higher in the state of Florida rankings than Joshisa Trader, but he's not actually a Floridian, you know what I mean? But Trader, he's every bit the 5-star that he's built to be. He is a game breaker. He might have the best hands in South Florida. He might have the best hands that we've seen in South Florida in a decade, 15 years or more. This kid is everything that you want at the wide receiver position. Multiple time state champion from a dominant program in Chaminade, obviously plays with elite level players. So, I know somebody who I used to work with whose son went to Chaminade, and this dude told me that basically all the dudes from Chaminade would come to Miami. It was basically Smith and Trader, but they were trying to strong arm Miami to take the quarterback. Cedric Jenkins, something like that. Kid who's committed to North Carolina State. I said, you know what? If it was during a previous regime, maybe you play that game, but like now you kind of have to recruit on your own merits. And if you lose a guy because you're not going to take, you're not going to be beholden to the package deal, kind of a thing where like Robert Kemdiche got 15 dudes from his high school team, scholarships all across the Southeast before, ending up at Ole Miss. Excuse me. Yeah, you don't have to do that. But, regardless of any of those kind of things, Joshisa Trader, getting him is as big a deal as it could possibly be. Getting him or Jeremiah Smith, just elite players. These are the kind of guys where, again, you don't need to get everyone, but you have to get your own fair share. So even if we split on the 2 from Chaminade, the 2 5-stars, you get one and you miss on the other, To me, that's getting your fair share. Now, you're still chasing Ryan Wingo from St. Louis, 5-star wide receiver. You're still chasing Jeremiah Smith from Chaminade on the other side of the field, 5-star receiver. You're still going after these other dudes and trying to get the kind of talent that you need. But, yeah, I mean, Miami went 0 for South Florida in terms of 5-star receivers for the longest time. I mean, this is the best wide receiver recruit that we've had since Amon Richards. And I stand on that. There were plenty of people who hopped in my mentions. John Dunmore, my God, former recruit, went to Penn State and everything. He hopped in my mentions talking about, with the crying emoji, with the little skull, like crying dead. I'm like, bro, I had literally former college football players hopping in my mentions talking about, fam, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I done watched more than a couple of these guys. And you can disagree if you want to. John Dunmore, who we wanted and was he was a high 4-star guy who washed out and did not much. But he coming in saying LOL, kind of stuff. Hey, look, man, go watch Josiah Trader on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever day. Go watch this kid play, right? Go watch a Jeremiah Smith play. And again, I'm not saying that there weren't other players of this ilk. I'm just saying Miami didn't get any of these guys. And respectfully, John Dunmore, Josiah Trader's better than you were. With all due respect. And because John Dunmore was a monster. But we got the monster killer if we're going down that path. You know what I mean? But getting a guy of Trader's ability, locking him down, is just immensely important for Miami, especially because of the position that he plays. So having this happen, and especially, the day after we recorded and everything, hopefully giving Miami some more momentum, which they did continue later because we're going to talk about another recruit, was really, really, really impactful. And hopefully the offense progresses through this season. You keep Trader in this class and then add another, if not a couple more, really dynamic wide receivers.
You brought up John Dunmore. I'm not aware of a John Dunmore. I'm aware of Penn State wide receivers. When it comes to any top 25-ish program across the country, I pretty much know the personnel. So I went to John Dunmore's stats thinking, okay, why don't I recognize this name? Did not step on the field at Penn State. Transferred to Oregon State, caught 10 passes in 2 seasons. 1 in 1 season, 9 his last season here in 2022. So he's still...
As in last year.
Yes.
Right. But, if you go back, John Dunmore, 247. And, just to give credit, right? Because I will give credit where credit is due. John Dunmore, who went to Chaminade, right? If I could go back... Go back there. He was a top 200 player in the country, top 20 wide receiver, top, 17, 20 in the state of Florida. Look, like I said, he was very good. He was a blue chip guy that Miami was recruiting and would have taken on this roster. But it ain't the same. Again, with all due respect for a current guy who had 9 catches last year, he has a chance to step into a larger role at Oregon State this year for a team that has designs on, a bowl game, potentially pushing for 9 or 10 wins. I am not calling that man trash. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to sit here and lie. But also by not sitting here and lying, I'm not going to say that he's as good as Josiah Trader or Jeremiah Smith. Respectfully, no, sorry.
Yeah, if either one of Trader or Smith is catching 9 passes in their 3rd season in college, we will be talking about supreme bust.
Yeah, absent injury. You know what I mean?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, and again, if you look, Miami brought him in for an official visit late in December, had 33 offers, took visits everywhere, Florida, Michigan, Auburn, Penn State, where he ended up. Again, I am not sitting here and demeaning that man, but Josiah Trader's better. And look, it'd be like that.
Did you initiate this tweet, or did I just see it on your feed or on the State of the U, where there was an exchange between Amon Richards and JoJo Trader?
Amon Richards quoted my tweet saying JoJo Trader is the best receiver recruit since Amon Richards. So AR himself quoted and said, hey, man, it's all love, respect, jits like that, looking forward to him in orange and green or whatever it was. And I think that spun off, and then they, just kind of gave each other respect off of that. But like, yeah, that was a quote tweet on top of my tweet that said that. And like, literally, I didn't even say anything else. You know what I mean? Like, I won't even say woefully behind, but like, I haven't even been writing Welcome to the U pieces this year. So I didn't even like hop in the lab and like do anything. I just literally tweeted that because I had just woken up from a nap. And my Twitter, my tweet deck wasn't working that day because, South African Elon just wants to break that app all the way down. So I couldn't even really tweet much. And I think I hopped on my phone and tweeted that and just like sent it and forgot it. And man, like, whoo, boy, it picked up some steam, which was kind of crazy. But hey, I mean, proof is in pudding. When I talk, y'all listen. And I appreciate that about y'all.
Cam's here talking the Canes. We're breaking it down as we do each and every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So hit that bell for the notifications to know when we go live as well, because sometimes schedules change.
Ding.
Certainly not in any way sneezing at Artavius Jones' ranking. We're talking about another top 125 player nationally, another top 20 player in the state of Florida, defensive lineman out of, and I had to look this up because I had no idea where Bluntstown, Florida was. I believe it's up in the Panhandle.
Yeah, Bluntstown, Florida is like in the shadow of Tallahassee there. As I'm opening up the Google Maps just to be sure, if I can just close that side panel. It is populate. Come on. But yeah, it's up there. It is actually west of Tallahassee, just south of I-10 there off of Route 20. So yeah, way up in the Panhandle, almost getting to where it is on Central Time, even that far west. Because there are towns in Florida that are actually on Central Time. Towns like Niceville, actually, that it's not all the way. It's closer to Tallahassee than that, but yeah, there's towns like further over. You get towards the Pensacola, towards the Niceville and whatever. They're actually on Central Time because they are that far west. It's not that far west, but regardless of where he is from, this is a big, ornery dude who adds a level of size and athleticism to the Canes that we need. He's listed at 280. I saw D Money on Canes Insight said that he's actually that listing is inaccurate. He's probably closer to 305, 310. But he's a jumbo athlete who played all over the field last year. And this is a guy whose ranking really rose this spring. Teams from all over the country were looking to get him on campus, with visits and offers. He did take a visit to UCF, and also Miami really pushed hard. The other, school with a name was East Carolina, but I mean, he has 28 offers per his 247 page right now. If you look into June, Wisconsin offered, UAB offered, if we go any more, Tennessee, Louisville, Oregon offered in May. So did Tulane. If you go a little bit further down, past Tulane, Indiana, Tennessee, LSU, Florida State, Oklahoma, Mississippi State. So, that's emblematic of somebody who really broke out on the field as a junior, where he's going around and he's doing these camps and he's being seen more. So then teams are like, oh, hey, maybe this is a guy we can bring in to our team. But yeah, he's a guy who can play. He's going to play D tackle for us. And he's just a big dancing teddy bear in there. And you just love it, man. He's quick. He's big. He's fast. He's strong. Obviously, I think that the defensive tackle position, like offensive line, is one that takes some time to develop. Just the physicality, the maturity of the body, like we talked about last week, and also the technique to really fight in there against grown men every single snap that you're on the field. But getting a guy, a top 165 player in the country, top 25 player in the state of Florida, you can't be mad at that, bro. You cannot be mad at that. And again, when you're beating all these other teams, and even if, the counter positive is for those other teams, it's like, well, we offered him, but it was a camp invite. We didn't really push for his commitment and everything. That looks worse for y'all, and you want to trust your evaluations. And we talked about this with taking some of these other guys who I think are going to see the rankings rise. But, excuse me, I think that Artavius' ranking is going to rise during his senior year, and it's already starting. in the top 165 of the country. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's big, fast, strong, very talented guy who played, both ways, fullback, offensive line, defensive tackle, linebacker, all over the field for Blountstown as a junior. And yeah, just really looks to bring an elite skill set as a big athlete, to Coral Gables at the end of the season. Mr. HD making a great point. He says he'll be a top 100 player by the end of the season. Andrew Ivins, formerly of Inside the U, now the national scouting director for 247, said that he's a freak athlete. And we know this and because Andrew Ivins keeps the freaks list every year for 247. So if he's saying like the college football freaks list, right? Wait, no, that's Bruce Feldman. But the high school freaks list, Andrew does and publishes every single year from all the camps and things that he goes to see. So now this dude has been doing this for a long time. I know Andrew Ivins personally. I remember when he was just graduated from FAU, starting out in preps and everything, when we're at all these camps together. So like I trust his opinion more than I trust most because I've seen a lot of the things that he saw with my own two eyes. So I will say I will support what he says. And if he's somebody out here who keeps the list of high school recruit the senior level, like the freaks list on type, the elite athletes, and he's saying that, again, it only doubles down what I'm saying. This is a freak athlete, a huge get for Miami, and another blue chip that continues Miami's great run only a couple days after getting Josiah Trader, and you just want to keep it going, really.
To get you caught up on all the stats concerning Jones and also Trader for Artavius Jones, 14 tackles for loss this past season, 58 total tackles, 3.5 sacks. And then we also have, and he had a pick included. Yep. And then on JoJo Trader, 47 catches, 743. That's 15.8 per, 7 touchdowns. And then as a sophomore, 26 catches, 23 yards per, 6 touchdowns for Joshia Trader.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, no matter how you slice it, those are two great gets in the world of recruiting. It raises Miami's ranking in this class up to 14th. And again, you just look to continue to have that momentum. You look to keep that going. And again, in the month of July, you have Marquise Lightfoot, second highest rated player in the class on July the 3rd, kicking off the fireworks. Then you get Josiah Trader on the 13th. And then the next day you follow with Artavius Jones on the 14th. Miami's starting to cook. And even if you go back a little bit into June, Kevin Riley, 4-star running back, on the 19th, Elijah Lofton from Bishop Gorman on the 15th, Cam Pruitt from Theodore, Alabama on the 10th. Like, they're starting to be Ryan Mack on the 26th. They're starting to be some momentum. Derek Plaz on, July 7th as well. So you just want to see this keep going and really, really, really start honing in on guys at the top of the board.
Talking Canes here at the Voice of College Football. It's a Wednesday night with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Get on over to stateoftheu.com. It's on SB Nation, stateoftheu.com. Check out what they've got available there. John, thank you so much for reminding everyone that we do have Voice of College Football merch, including a Miami line. And then John is on top of it to the point. I have no idea. I don't know if this is a made-up fun fact. The Voice of College Football swimming trunks are now the 6th best-selling item.
Okay.
I don't even know that. I don't know where that comes from.
Somebody's disaggregating that data over there. I love it.
Let's stay with the recruiting before we move on to some other personnel news.
Okay.
Who are the big targets right now? Like, who should everyone be keeping their eye on that could be falling one way or the other here in the next few weeks?
Well, you just had a decommitment from oh Lord, my brain. Somebody in the chat, help me out. Just decommitted from Georgia.
Okay.
Hayward, the cornerback safety from
Jalen Hayward
from Rockledge. There we go. Thank you. Borderline 4-star, 5-star kid, just decommitted from Georgia. Miami's pushing hard. UCF also, because Rockledge is up in that area of the state. Doing due diligence, pushing, and we'll see which way it goes. But that's a known name who's been on campus multiple times. So him, Zaquan Patterson, also from, you guessed it, Chaminade. He's a 4-star safety. Big Cam Franklin from Alabama. Like I said, great name, great player. He's a guy, LJ McCray from Daytona Mainland. Papa Afua, his first name is Sendre, the offensive lineman from Seattle O'Day. All those guys, at the top. Chris Cole from Salem, Virginia. Also in there, Aiden Breland from Mater Dei. Ryan Wingo, Dylan Stewart, David Stone, and there's somebody else. T.A. Cunningham used to live in California. He's transferred a bunch. He's at Miami Central right now. May or may not be in this class, may or may not be leaning somewhere else. Colin Simmons, a top defensive end prospect from Duncanville, Texas. And there's more than that, but I would say those guys are names to know at the top of the class, at the top of the list. And yeah, we'll see which way things go with those guys, but like we've done some of the veritable discount shopping, as it were, in terms of recruiting, but right now we're kind of focused on name brands. And those blue chippers, all that I just named, are those name brand kind of recruits. So that's where you're looking, and we'll see, how things go.
Then we also have Chris Graves, who has entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, Chris Graves, that was today. Actually, just a little bit before the show. Cornerback from Bishop Vero and Fort Myers, teammates of Malik Curtis in high school. He was the kid who we signed the year after, who was young for his grade, for his classification level. A guy who I'd mentioned as wanting to see take a step forward in this offseason towards this next year. But it seems that Miami has recruited over him, both in the high school ranks and in the transfer portal ranks of cornerbacks who are going to come in and play now, whereas he still has development to undergo before seeing the field. And yeah, made that decision to announce that he was in the portal today. Wish him well. Obviously, I was pushing for the guy. He's 6'1.5", 6'2", blazing speed. Him and Malik Curtis on that 4x1 at Bishop Vero was just a monster pairing and everything. Has all the physicality in the world, but you can be a great athlete and not a great player of your sport. And it seems like he's still on the developing, demonstrable, repeatable skill in terms of his technique on the football field. So I really wanted it to work here for him. I think that it can work for him somewhere else. Maybe he takes a step down to a G5 level, and finds a home somewhere else doing that. But I do wish him well wherever he goes, and I'll always be a fan. I do want to see him do well, be successful in life. Even if he's successful somewhere else than Miami in terms of football, then we can talk about what failed him here, and we can use that as a prism through which to view the coaching staff and things within the program. But yeah, he did just announce that today. Not really a major loss, because again, it seemed like he wasn't really going to do much other than maybe run down very fast on some coverage units, if that. But no matter where he lands or whatever he does, we do wish him well. But yeah, he is departing from the University of Miami. It does seem, and if he withdraws and comes back, hey, nose to the grindstone, work on your technique, grow and develop. We'll see what happens later in this year, going into next year. Obviously, there's work to be done, so I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If he's testing things to see, hey, like, is there a spot for me somewhere else? And he comes to find out, actually, the grass on the other side of the street is not greener, and I want to stay in this kind of green with orange and white on our uniforms and, everywhere else on campus, then I'm with that as well. But like I said, it does look like he's going to be departing, just like Terry Roberts did already this offseason from that cornerback room. Wish him well wherever he goes. Good luck, Godspeed.
Chris Graves Jr. in that 2022 class, 7th rated athlete in the country top 125 player, top 20 player in the state of Florida.
Trying to tell, I mean, an incredible athlete, you know, but like Malik Curtis, he was big and fast and played for a small, you know, parochial school, played both ways. He played more corner his senior year than Curtis did. Curtis was mostly offense with a sprinkle of defense. Graves, knowing that he was coming to Miami probably to play defense, played more on the defensive side than did Curtis the year before, but still, speed only gets you but so far. You know what I mean? And apparently his technique did not get to a place that was going to play him onto the field. And again, as per today's announcement, it seems like he will be looking for shelter elsewhere. And I wish him well in that pursuit.
So obviously with those qualifications coming out of high school, there's going to be a ton of schools that kick the tires on one.
Yeah, man.
Graves. Yeah.
Yeah, it's top 100 player in the country. Like, yeah, top 10 athlete in the country. You're like, that's the kind of athleticism this guy, that's what we're talking about, the caliber of play. Now, it also kind of does start to beg the question, why couldn't you turn that, you know, clay into a beautiful sculpture here in Miami? You know what I mean? But that's a conversation for either later or another day. I don't know.
We had Tom Luganbill on a couple months ago, and he made the statement that he said this in regards to 5 stars, but of course there's not just some drop dead line that differentiates athletes. It's a descending scale of some degree. But his basic point was, if you don't make it as a 5-star, then it 9 times out of 10 is that particular player's issue, meaning he didn't have his head together because of whatever.
Right. Yeah, and I think that has borne itself out to be true. I mean, like, they're 5 stars are 700% more likely to be drafted in the first round than other ranked, you know, things. Is, you know, people, stars don't matter, and then you turn into the NFL draft, and it's like 5-star, 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 2-star who grew 4 inches and gained 55 pounds of lean muscle, 5-star, 4-star, 5-star, 5-star, 4, you know, it's things like that. So, yeah, you know, but again, you're talking a top 100 player in the country, starting to look at, okay, what's the matter with you, kind of thing, you know, like, but, you know, Miami has not been the most steady program either, but. Yeah.
Maybe you can enlighten me on this as well, Cam. Now, I should know this, and I thought I did know it. Why is there a transfer outside of the transfer portal window? He's not a grad transfer.
Do not believe so. Couldn't tell you. I honestly don't know. People did hop into my mind because I quoted it from the State of the U account, not my personal account. And I was looking at some people hopped in and asked that same question. And I was like, you know what? I got this really, really great fried chicken dinner from Betty's Soul Food in Fort Lauderdale that I'm going to have for dinner before I go on this show with Mark. And I'm going to focus on that and not finding out the answer. So I was a little derelict in my research discovery to get to that answer. But I mean, maybe it's just because it's between academic years or something. Like, I think that the spring or summer semester, summer session 1 probably just is near ending. Well, no, this is summer 2 because camp is coming up in a couple weeks. So I don't know. But whatever it was, like, he met the end of the road.
Okay. Because it's been my understanding, and it now sounds like your understanding, that especially over the last, there have been more rules applied to the transfer portal in the last year or so, and that there has been a specific window designated after the season and then after spring practice. And it's been very much in tune with the numbers that we've seen, the volume of players, and then it shuts off. But then there's a one-off here and a one-off there and a one-off, and they're not grad transfers. So I just don't know. There's obviously something to the rules that have been placed, because 99.3% of the cases have fallen within the window of the transfer portal, but there has been an odd case or two that has snuck through.
Yeah, and I looked up really quickly. Like, I don't see any transfer portal window that's currently open. Like, baseball went to July 13th, which is the latest that I see on this website in front of me. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. Oh, stop with all the pop-ups. Get out of here. But yeah, I don't know. But either way, he seems like he's leaving. So see you.
John, thank you for the reminder to everyone. We've got a Patreon where you can go to Discord. You've got a Discord link that you can talk college football all the time. It's patreon.com/MarkRogersTV, $5 a month. And you get a lot more than that as well, exclusive content. And you get my predictions on the season, which turn out to be fairly well. I'm no expert. I'm not a handicapper or odds maker, but the record is the record, and it's plus 60% against the spread. It's plus 75 to 80% straight up. And we've got our guy Steve Merrill from Wager Talk, who went an incredible 13-1 against the spread last year.
Wow. Okay. This made me remember that we have the SEC ACC Pick'em League coming back. I'm derelict. I forgot to write the final installment for everyone with the final standings. I took a couple big shots late in the year. I think I ended up like 7th in the league, but I did win the what is it? The trash talk or something's
That doesn't surprise me.
Spirit Award. No, it wasn't. It wasn't even that. It was like the Spirit Award or something for whatever. Because like people will do themed picks, so they'll like take, a drink from a bar in the home city of each team, and like it'll be irreverent stuff like that. But since I wrote the series on the website last year, I actually won that. So yeah, that was almost said something bad there. But I did win that, so that was great for me, is what I will say. And getting ready to dive back in for another great year. I will be blogging through my ACC SEC League picks again this year. Yeah, and it'll be a good time. So hopefully you guys will hop in the comments and make your own picks for those games and everything. And yeah, just have a good conversation about it.
The ACC version of Media Days, in which we are in the midst of SEC Media Days, and the Pac-12 coming up on Friday, the Big 12 in the rearview mirror, the Big 10 and the ACC next week.
Yep.
That is coming up July 25th, 6th, and 7th, which I believe would be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week in Charlotte. Yep. And the Miami attendees will be Cam Kinchins, Matt Lee, Tyler Van Dyke, accompanying Mario Cristobal.
Yeah, and I think that all of those fit. You give your starting quarterback, because you're going to always bring your starting quarterback when you know who that is across the sport. And again, he still has designs on being a high NFL draft pick. He has designs on being, someone who plays in the league. And you have to show that you are an extension of management, like you are in the marketing department. You know what I mean? Like your very nature of existence as a quarterback. So the way that you comport yourself really matters. And Tyler Van Dyke is on that path for some redemption to like get his name back out there also, because, everybody was talking about him as a first round potential draft pick last year and then got injured and had that terrible season. He's, allow me to reintroduce myself kind of a joint. So he'll be there. Matt Lee was All-American at center, is a very fiery guy, a very passionate leader, and very good player as well. So having him as another spokesman, even though he's just transferred in from UCF, I just believe his personality and his play elevates him to somebody that, yeah, that makes sense to bring with him, with Cristobal. And then Cam Kinchins, should have been unanimous across the board, first team All-American. He was first team All-American by most outlets and entities and voting after the stellar season he had last year. Excuse me. So yeah, he's a superstar in the making. He's one of 7 players who just partnered with The Rock in an NIL agreement situation today. I want to say it's like the Rock athletes or something like that. And yeah, he's one of 7 across college sports who's doing that. So yeah, Cam Kinchins should be a household name. And again, by putting him out there in front of the assembled media, you give him that boost as well. So I think that those are three really great choices to take to ACC Media Days, or ACC Kickoff, as they call it. Along with Mario Cristobal, obviously, who will have to answer for some of the shortcomings of the last season, as will the players. Well, particularly Cam and Tyler. Matt wasn't here last year, but still we'll have to talk about that. But I think that those are three really good representatives. I think that you could not go wrong with any of those. Are there other guys on the roster that could potentially show well? Yeah, I think that there are. I think a guy like Akeem Mesidor is very well spoken. Transfer down from West Virginia last year. Was he second or third team All ACC? Had one of the highest pressure rates in the country. He'd have been a great guy, to bring over there. Henry Parrish, he's a little mousy in terms of his interviews, but he performed well. That's a guy that you could bring in there. Xavier Restrepo, I know that he's not the best wide receiver in the country, but he does speak well. He works hard. He's very passionate and things like that. He's super passionate about the U also. I mean, and there's other dudes as well that you could have brought. So I think that those three are great choices. And I think that there are also other great choices on the roster. And, we'll see who they bring next year as we move forward, throughout the season. We'll also see how many times, which players speak to the media after games this season. That'll be interesting to see. And hopefully they'll have more positive content to talk about as we, win more than half our games, which is not a thing that happened last year.
As Cam was running all that down, I was hurriedly going through a sequence of numbers, because I posted a couple videos this week, one related to the Big Ten, one to the SEC. And if I get a decent response from these videos, then I will continue them. I enjoy doing these sorts of things. They are titled, "Is This the Year? Blank, fill in the blank." So I look for trends, streaks, those sorts of things to see if streaks will be broken, streaks will continue, those sorts of things. Okay. So I have not produced one for Miami or the ACC. So I just kind of hurriedly came up with these numbers off the top of my head. So is this the year Miami wins 10 games? When is the last time that happened? Of course, 2017. Is this the year that Miami wins a conference championship? When's the last time that happened? 2003.
Probably not.
And we know this isn't going to happen, but of course, last national championship in 2001. Okay, the last bowl victory. Is this the year Miami wins a bowl game? The last time that's happened, 2016. 4 consecutive bowl losses since the win over West Virginia.
I think it depends on the matchup greatly.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it depends on the matchup and also who's playing, because I could very well see an 8-4 Miami team going to a second-tier bowl game. Tyler says, "You know what? I done already hurt this shoulder a couple times. I'm not going to risk it. Toss the keys to Jakari. Good luck, boss. I'm out." And the offense not necessarily operating at the same level that I think it will operate at this year, which is not to say top 1 or 2 in the country, but still I would foresee a decline in the performance in that state. So I'm going to say no, just to add a level of doubt still going into next season. Mario Cristobal lost to Utah twice, before he left there, and then he lost a bowl game, and then now he loses another bowl game when he comes back to Miami. And I still see that as a doubt area moving into the next season, even with improved performance during the regular season this year. So I say no, but I could easily see my way into, not easily, because there's only been 1 bowl win since 2003, or 2 of them. So I don't know, but I lean no.
Yeah, and what you were describing right now is one of the reasons why I'm a bit irked, and this is very nitpicky. It doesn't matter. We all have those things that we reasonably can address and say, that doesn't matter, but it just annoys me. in a very petty type of way. It's when people make predictions and they add on the bowl game. Like they say, I predict Miami's going to go 9-4 this year. Well, you don't even know who they're going to play in the bowl game. How are you predicting the bowl game? It's not a big deal.
It's just, for me, it would be aspirational, like 9 wins, including a bowl game.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. I
Sure.
can see that,
Absolutely.
as opposed to like, 8, including a bowl game. Well, that's 7-5. And then like, depending from what happens in the bowl game, away from 7-6. So it's kind of an aspirational thing. But yeah, to be very firm on those kind of things, it is kind of a leap of logic for sure.
The last time Miami finished in the top 15 in America, again, that same 2017 season. The last time Miami finished in the top 10 in the AP rankings, 2003.
Yeah.
11-2, number 6. Now, the following season, number 11 in the country, 2004, and then number 17 in 2005. Yes, last top 20 finish would have been in 2020. Despite the bowl loss, still finished in the top 25.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads me to a question, but we will give way to the Super Chat contribution. Kylo Ren, Miami Kane. I like Artavius Jones, but it's Artavius Jones, correct? I mispronounced that. I like Artavius Jones, but Coach Joe can't recruit.
Really? I'm not sure that I agree with that. I know that we all want to get every single 5-star, but I mean, Joe Salvea was one of the coaches who recruited Artavius Jones. So, like, that's a contradictory statement in and of itself, let alone with multiple other blue chip defensive tackles still on the board this cycle currently. I don't necessarily agree. I think he's a fine recruiter. I think maybe Kylo Ren that you want an ace recruiter there. And I could see that. But like a can't recruit, I don't necessarily agree with that. But I will agree with some of the sentiment at the heart of your statement that there still is room for growth in terms of Salvea's recruiting. Obviously, you had Buddy from Chicago go to O State, Justin Scott, who Miami did lead for at a time that's well known, and things like that. So, yeah.
Where I was headed next, and I know nobody likes to go to the rear view mirror, but I do at times. And I try to refrain myself because I just enjoy history and it bleeds into sports, and therefore I like to look back. But bringing up that 2020 team, that was a pretty good football team, actually. And of course, they lost the quarterback, De'Ara King, in the bowl game. Most likely would have won that game had he played. Again, not to Miami standards, not to the standards of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, but still a good football team. Manny Diaz, I know that he is not well regarded in Miami circles, but he gets the job after Mark Richt. The last season under Richt was not successful. He pretty much, I know that his first record was not quite as good, but it was in that same range. 7-6, 6-7. Then they've got a good team in 2020. That season was messed up for everyone, but they still went 8-3. And then, of course, the undoing in 21. But still, after a rough start, they had a pretty good run against some decent competition in 21. I'm just making a claim for maybe Manny Diaz has a future in head coaching at some point.
I think that that's true. I think that he can earn his way back into a big chair. I think he will maybe have to go a step down from where he is and where he was. Here is defensive coordinator, then head coach, and then Penn State as defensive coordinator. I don't think that he gets a top 20 job. You know what I mean? I think that he gets a top 35, 40 job and maybe can work his way up because he was supposed to be at Temple and then work his way up, and then he never had that opportunity. And I think that maybe not the dregs of the depth of where Temple is, but like a mid-tier, like an upper tier group of 5, mid-level to lower level power 5 job, and then work his way up. I think that that's very much in his future. I think that he was out of his depth a little bit, to be the head coach here. But I think that he probably learned from that. I know that he's learned from Mark Richt and, other places, even when he was at Texas and it all went up in smoke, as defensive coordinator. So I think that he can be a head coach down the line. But I don't think that he's stepping back up into a Penn State, Miami top tier level job as his next head coaching stop.
LFG 2020 squad had a great defensive front 7. They had a great front 4 or great edge rushers, correct?
Let me just go back and refresh my memory. Sorry, I just watched A Time to Kill, and Kevin Spacey's character says it just like that. 2020, Jalen Phillips, Quincy Roche, Nesta Silvera, Jared Harrison Hunt, Jafari Harvey. The last 2 were freshmen then. Cam Williams is a freshman. John Ford, Jordan Miller. Gilbert Frierson played linebacker. Also had, he was 3rd on the team. And tackles for loss, Bradley Jennings Jr., Bubba Bolden, but he was in front 7. I mean, that was when Zach McLeod was moonlighting at the defensive end. They were pretty good up front, especially with Phillips and Roche on the edges. I think that's what buoyed that group. But then also you had some issues at linebacker with some guys who were still on the roster and hopefully don't play many snaps. But, wearing number 17 and number 34, if you know the roster very well, a lot of Sunday players on that 20 roster. Yeah. Again, still putting guys in the league. Just maybe not, 8 first-round picks in a year or, 7 in a year and then 15 or 13 over 3 years or whatever it was. But, yeah, you still got a lot of Sunday players, LFG. You are correct on that, and especially at the top of that roster. Lots of them, for sure.
Christopher's back in the chat this week to spew out more silliness. The other couple of weeks ago, it was something about Colorado State constantly, and now it's North Texas is better than Miami. Okay.
Great. I'm glad that you think that, Christopher. The 20 LBs weren't great. I already told you. You are correct. You had Frierson playing that striker position, and he played really, really well. But the regular the linebackers, not the hybrids, but the linebackers were.
Okay, folks. Does anybody want to serve up one more topic? Anything good? Any good questions? I'll come up with something in the next 20 seconds if nobody does. Going once, going twice. You produce the show. Okay.
All right.
This is coming back on me.
I will let the people know. Go ahead.
Who's the most exciting player on this year's team? Just flat out excitement. Either side of the ball.
Tyler Harrell. Wide receiver. Just speed. He's a guy who I can already foresee the stadium starting to rise from their seat, but also in volume as he puts a move on somebody and the ball's in the air. You know what I mean? That and I could see that just the explosive nature of his speed in this vertical passing game that I think that we're going to employ. David Hale, good ACC journalist for ESPN. Basically, he was tweeting out about pass catchers and things in the ACC earlier today, and he made a point that Miami's vertical, the receiving yards on passes more than 20 yards was less than half, or about half last year as what it was the year prior. So that talks to the scheme and also to the employment or the deployment and proficiency of the players on the field with that, and I think that's going to change under Shannon Dawson. And also, he ranked the wide receiver and tight end groups in the ACC, putting like dashes for the different, tier spots. And Miami was leading tier 5 at number 12. And I'm like, I hate it. And it is truly deplorable that Miami's skill players are evaluated. I mean, like ranked in such a way. Now I know it's by one person and it's his opinion, but like I looked at that and I thought about it. I didn't see much that I just, disagreed with. So it's very deplorable that you would list, or that the Miami pass catchers will be listed about 12th, but also that's right. Like I dare and defy you to find me something that proves otherwise. I don't mean going from 12 to 11. I mean going from 12 to top 5 where it should be, top 3 where it really should be, top 1 where it really should be. You know what I mean? Like it, but that just speaks to one of the major failings of this program over the course of time, man.
Leroy, the Black Ninja Turtle. So I'm late at work watching. I included the commas there for you. Leroy, thank you so much for the contribution. We appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
I believe I cut you off. There was something you wanted to proclaim.
No, so well, first of all, I'm gonna let y'all know in advance. I will not be here next week. And I will not be here next week because, and I'm going to get to Leroy's question in just one moment from the super chat, which we appreciate. I'm not going to be here because your boy has been chasing down a major professional move, a big time promotion from what I was previously doing. So I have a secret day job. It is a new secret day job, but the old secret day job been gone for a while. Just didn't tell y'all that. So, yes, I will not be here next week, and there are probably going to be some other times where I have work conflicts in my new fancy dancy job role that will preclude me from being here on Wednesdays. I will try to let y'all know in advance, but this was something that I've been chasing for a long time, and I am very excited for it, and I just wanted to let y'all know so that you guys can, again, you should be so hitting the bell for the notifications so you know when we're going on. I know that Mark is going to look to get some other people in here. Maybe we'll even bring in some other guys from State of the U on the times when I can't be here. But wanted to let y'all know up front. So big promotion, big new job, loving it. Getting started very soon here. And that will be taking me away from at least next week. Hopefully not too many more times, but probably a couple other times as well, just by the nature of what the new secret day job is. So I say that to say that I'm not telling y'all what the secret day job is, but maybe in a couple weeks, I'll tell you what the old secret day job was. Maybe, or I might tell you at the end of this episode right here. But before I get into any of that, Leroy the Black Ninja Turtle again, who do you like in QB recruiting? Honestly, Judd is fine. I think that he wants to be here. I think that he is a guy who can really take a big step forward with a strong senior year in terms of his ranking. He is very charismatic. I'm not saying that all of these guys that we've gotten to commit to Miami are following his lead. You know what we're saying? Like where he's like, I'm Dante Moore. Everybody come join me. I'm Nico Iamaleava. Everybody come to Tennessee. I'm not saying that there's that, but he's so open about his love of Miami. He's so open about the direction of the program, what he believes that they can do, and what can happen with other great players coming with him. So I think that he is a guy that I like. I'm not saying that I love him. I would still like to see, even if he does get a rankings boost, I would still like us to maybe take a couple swings at top of the list guy. Again, just for name reasons, just because we share the same family name. I would love somebody like a Bryce Underwood from Belleville, Michigan. He's a 2025 guy, so he's not this cycle, he's next cycle. But my play cousin Bryce from Belleville, I would love to see that. I mean, he's probably going to go to the University of Michigan though, because how many times are they going to be? I mean, they missed out on Dante Moore from down the street. I don't really foresee a way. Now, I mean, I know they got CJ Carr coming in the 24 class. That's Lloyd. No. Sorry, he's going to Notre Dame. My bad. So you miss out on Dante Moore. You miss out on Lloyd Carr's grandson and everything. And then you got Bryce Underwood, who's looking like the #1 player in America in the next class. I don't think that Michigan's going to miss on him. But again, because he and I share the same surname and probably deep down the line somewhere we are related, you know what I mean? Because, like, come on. Like, Belleville is between Chicago and Detroit. My whole Underwood family is from Chicago, and then, like, my mother and father moved to Detroit. So, like, you know, like, it's funny. I went to college with one of my third cousins who was a piano player in the School of Music, and we literally were like, bro, your last name Underwood, my last name Underwood. Let's just start working back. And it took us a little bit, but we found that common thread. So, you know, it could be something like that. So I would say in 25, looking like that. I don't really have a name that I'm looking at in 2024 to try to bring in or flip or anything. But I would say look at the top of the list and then just make some phone calls and see how the relationship is going. You know, hey, maybe you want to come out for a cup of coffee. Maybe you want to go by the Melody Freeze and get a cone and just talk really quickly, not trying to take you away from John or anything. But hey, you know, like, we're just testing the temperature. So I would say something like that would be the way that I would go from right now with the 2024 quarterback class. And then obviously keeping eyes wide open on whatever the transfer portal movement is after the season.
There, of course, is a fascinating show on PBS concerning people's ancestries. I don't know the name of it, but it's really good.
Interesting. I was unaware. So my PBS, well, my main thing was I watched the Canadian Broadcasting Channel after school when I was growing up in Detroit, and the first cooking show I ever watched was The Frugal Gourmet. It was an old grandpa dude who would go to his local farmer's market and find just these, you know, inexpensive, humble ingredients and make these really flavorful meals. And the first meal that I ever cooked for, like, it was just me and my mom at the time, but I made, it was chicken breast with haricot vert and roasted red potatoes with a mustard sauce. That was pretty good. That was like, it's funny because, you know, I have a couple friends that, you know, Cam's Cooking Corner, because that is a side passion of mine. So anytime I talk about those things, but that was like the first recipe that I ever executed, which was memorable. I can still remember that house. I can still remember all that stuff. Crazy. But yeah.
You kill me with that, because it is a constant struggle for me to eat well and also flavorful at the same time. I want to eat good quality food, not junk, but I want it to be, you know, I could throw a bunch of Brussels sprouts in the oven. No, I want.
Dude, I mean, look at America's Test Kitchen. They have great cookbooks. I have the second latest, not the latest one, but the previous addition to that. You can go on websites. You can find easy sauce work that you can do. It doesn't take much to make a nice vinaigrette or a pan sauce or something like that. Like, it's easier than you think, especially when you look into it. But yeah, so I'm not even saying that you have to make like the Bernays or Mornays, like the French mother sauces and things like that turn into you know, scrambled eggs if you do them wrong. It doesn't have to be all that.
You know who actually taught me that to a certain extent is HelloFresh. Taught me that it's easy to make a decent meal, a nice meal.
Hey, man. Not a sponsor.
I was shocked that I've told people this. I actually just told somebody this a few minutes before we came on the show, a friend, that I'm not a big chicken fan because it's typically difficult to make chicken. People dry out chicken easily. Okay. Well, every time I made chicken on it with the HelloFresh recipes, it must be quality chicken, because I never screwed it up. It was always really good. And if I don't screw it up,
then
then
you're learning the repeatable skills of, okay, this is how long I, you know, sear the skin side down to get it crispy. Let me flip it over. Is it bone-in? Is it not bone-in? I mean, bone-in is always going to be juicier and more flavorful for me, but hey, you know, whatever.
And the pork chops and the sauce that they would include there, I always made to a T. It was always really good. So
very nice.
All right, folks, appreciate you all being here at the Voice of College Football and for our Miami show. And I am one of the chosen few that do know what the secret day job was and is. My lips.
You're one of the few. So
I've proven my confidentiality.
Exactly. So I see that the timer on the live is clicking towards an hour. So I will leave you all with this. As promised, the former, so not the new one that, you know, but the former secret day job, and I know that there were some people in the chat who knew this because they ran into me at said day job at the time, but I transitioned from teaching and I went to the world of retail management, and I worked at Starbucks as a store manager. So I worked in Fort Lauderdale at multiple stores. I think 6 stores as I was training to be a store manager, and then I went back to the city of Miramar where I had a store by I-75 for a while until I decided to leave that in pursuit of other things, getting back towards the foundation for me, doing a couple other training things, and then securing this new secret day job, which I will not tell you about, but yeah, and it was funny because like right when it was fun, I know that we talked about this before we recorded one time, but like my first week at my training store when I was at Starbucks up in Fort Lauderdale, it was actually in Pompano. It was a little cafe store. Somebody came in talking about, "You're Cam Underwood from I said, yo, stop. It was like the 3rd or 4th day. It was the first week. It was like, yo, I know you. And I was like, and all the, it's Starbucks. So, you got people who are I was like, yo, relax. He's like, nah, man. I was like, yo, relax. And then I actually ran into a couple of like personal friends in a couple of different stores I worked at. I ran into, I mean, and this is where I was pulling some of these names of people that I'd met, because I'd met probably 30 or 40 different listeners and watchers of our show across my tenure, and like every time they'd be like, hey, I was like, yo, okay, I would step out from behind, like, oh, let me go out here, let me schmooze, let me, table touch, do all those things, but like, hey, like, and hey, thank you to all of y'all who didn't blow my spot up, because like I said, it was 30 or 40 of y'all who had actually ran into me at one of the 7 stores that I worked, because I worked all over the Fort Lauderdale metro area. So I was always running into people. And so this also now clarifies for you, that's where I was working when I ran into Rick Pitino every day when we had COVID, when the stores were closed on the inside and it was only drive-through only at one of the new stores in Fort Lauderdale when I was assistant manager there during my manager's training. He lives, well, Rick Pitino has a house in Fort Lauderdale. And so this is before he got the Iona job, and we normally you wouldn't take names in the drive-through, but because of the way that the system was, we took names at the time. So he's like, Rick. I was like, okay, cool, whatever, blah, blah. And I was doing both the order module and the payment module. So he rolls up and I'm like, Coach Pitino, what? Like, oh my God. So like, that's that. Also, Chad Ochocinco routinely came to my store in Miramar before he would go to the gym and whatnot, smoking his 85 cigars and getting his daily order, which I will not divulge because I'm not going to give away that. But he would get the same thing every day, and I would know, and he would pull up and be like, hey, what's up, man? It's Ocho. Oh, okay, cool. Like, and just wave him through, like, whatever. It was a very standard kind of beverage. So yeah, and I almost outed myself a couple times, because like when you work in a food thing, you speak that language and like the ingredients and things. So I'll see people putting stuff on the timeline and I'm like, that's wrong. But like whatever. And I almost would go and correct them or whatnot. So and I almost said on here one or twice, you almost use Starbucks language, like venti instead of large or whatever. So I had to like catch myself. But yeah, so the former secret day job was in management at Starbucks, and the new secret day job, I will tell you this: it is not in retail food management. Other than that, you get nothing from me. But that's what that was. And if you were one of the few who knew, thanks for not saying. And if you were just learning that, there you go.
Well, we all wish you the very best and congratulations. And we're glad that you've taken another substantial leap in your career.
Big leap, 3 levels. Yeah, big leap. So very excited for that, and very excited to be here with you guys. So I know that you're always here for my stories and background stuff, and I know that the secret day job, or whatever the secret day job was, I know that a lot of y'all were annoyed that I didn't tell y'all, but just trying to protect my peace and kind of work in silence or whatever. But yeah, I know that you guys did probably enjoy that. Hopefully enjoy the rest of the show as well. Thank you so much for being here with us. As for always, stateoftheu.com, where our position profiles are going to be starting, I believe, this week, leading up towards the season in camp. So go be sure that you read all the stuff over there, stateoftheu.com, on socials at the State of the U. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports, and I'm always around, and I will be in these streets even more because of the nature of the new secret day job. You might see me around other places, not well, you might see me at a Starbucks, but not like working at a Starbucks. But if you see me out in the streets, which I have seen other people as well, if I'm at Publix or I'm going somewhere else, come and say hey. Always love to meet you guys, and we'll love to continue to talk with you. And at least I will continue to talk to you in a fortnight at the earliest, because again, I have a new job conflict next week, but that's where we are.
Thanks, Cam. Enjoy the rest of your week.
You guys do the same. I'll see you
next time, everyone. Bring some friends with you. We'll see you next time.